and welcome to our virtual open event at Harden Hewish Sixth Form. My name is Miss Fisher and I am the Curriculum Leader for Social Science. At Harden Hewish we offer 3 social sciences: psychology, sociology and criminology. There are bespoke and tailored presentations for each of these subjects to go into more depth, but this presentation is just a short look at what social science is, why you should study a social science and what you could do with the social science in your next steps. Okay, so as I mentioned, we offer 3 here at Harden Hewish. Psychology is a very popular A-level and has been historically at the sixth form. It is a discipline that looks at a variety of different topics and explores different concepts, but really focuses on the individual. Whereas sociology studies human behaviour on a more societal level. We look at processes such as social order and problems and changes within society. Criminology is a melting pot of different subjects. Whilst it is a discipline in its own right, it also takes elements from psychology, sociology and so on, and focuses on criminal behaviour, which is proving more and more popular with students every year. And we're very lucky to have started to offer this qualification. Now, in terms of social sciences, it's incredibly broad, so it gives you a really varied idea of society, as I said, from an independent or individual point of view and a societal point of view. Really, it's looking at why humans behave the way they do and why society is structured the way it is. Not only looking at the positives created in society, but also looking at the negatives and what can be done to have a look at those problems and change things for the better for future generations. When we talk about social science here, we look at lots of different topics across all 3, but it could be things, for example, like addiction, which is something that we look at in psychology here. We could look at things like forensics in criminology, when students will look at things like blood spatters, crime scenes, decide whether that person committing the crime is potentially someone who is performing that act for a crime of passion, or it could be more calculated. We also look at things like conflict, attachment, particularly within childhood, current affairs such as Black Lives Matter and racial discrimination, education and diversity across cultures and globally. So it is really varied in terms of what you will cover. One example I've been using with students at the moment is COVID-19. Now, obviously, it's been a very strange and quite scary situation for everyone globally, and we've really been discussing this from a social science point of view rather than just the medical point of view. So, for example, when we consider COVID-19 from a sociological or psychological point of view, we'll look at things like the changing norms and laws and the impact that has. So the mask, for example. I never would have thought, even last year, that I would be wearing a mask whilst going about my daily business, when I'm shopping or walking down the corridor in my workplace. But it is becoming something that is very normalised. And the fact that it's a law as well means that it's become something that can be punishable if you don't do it. The same things apply with what I'm doing now, the fact that we're having a virtual open evening and information event rather than seeing people face to face. And we do need to decide whether actually, does that have an impact in terms of education and employment futures? Is education going to change by using more remote methods because of the adaptations we've currently made? And are new jobs going to be made because of this? While more and more people work at home, are we changing the style of the working patterns? What impact will that have in the future after we've got through this global pandemic? This obviously links into the economy, and we're seeing huge amount of issues with the economy, people already discussing what will happen in the future, how we can try and stop any real huge impact on the economy in terms of furlough and so on. And this is something that students, particularly those who are also doing economics and business, can really get their teeth into. Also in terms of COVID, obviously as it's global, we've been discussing how nations have been working together or not. In terms of the vaccination, is it something that global nations will work together with, or will there be a fight or a race to get the first dose of vaccination within the country? How are they going to get it to the people that initially need it, the more vulnerable, for example? The other area we can consider with COVID-19 is mental health. So, for example, this week in the news, there was discussion about a Oxford University investigation or piece of research into the mental health of those who had suffered from COVID. They found that a high proportion of those who had never suffered from ill mental health before having COVID were now expressing symptoms of depression and anxiety. Now, the question here is that a result of the medical and physical symptoms of COVID, or actually is it more societal? Could it be related to the anxieties around the global pandemic itself and things such as lockdown? So as you can see, social sciences covers everything within society. Everything we look at can be discussed and explored and debated via the social sciences. So why study a social science subject? The queen of the sciences, if you like. Well, although I'm biased, there are many reasons that you should do this, whether it's from an employment point of view, a skill point of view, or just personal curiosity. And that's where I'll start. As humans, we are problem solvers and we are curious about the world that we live in. We look to others to guide us in terms of our behaviour. We question ourselves in relation to societal expectations and norms. And we really are puzzlers as to why society is the way it is, and maybe more importantly, how we can change it. So if you're curious about the way you live in and your own personality and the things that impact you, then the social sciences will really help you open out these ideas. Also, you get really flexible career options. There are a lot of careers that are very relevant and very directly linked. For example, if you do psychology and go on to be a psychologist yourself, criminology, working within the criminal justice system and so on, but there's more than that. So I've had previous students go on into marketing. One of my ex-students is actually works for marketing for Yo Sushi in New York. So it's very different to what you might imagine a career is like after taking social sciences. So you don't only get to develop your curiosity and look at the content of the subjects, but you really get to develop these skills of critical evaluation, being creative, logical, self-organisation, communication skills, and so on. So a report by the Campaign for Social Science found that after 3.5 years of graduation, the proportion of social science graduates in employment is higher than that of graduates who studied STEM subjects, and that's something that is continuing. Also, 7 in 10 social scientists are in professional or technical occupations, and as the slides suggest, a greater proportion of social scientists are already managers, directors and senior officials 3.5 years after graduating. So it definitely is a subject that takes you somewhere else. It's not one just to do because of your own curiosity, but it's one that can take you onto wide fields of employment. Without understanding the society we live in on a national, international, global level, we can't make the differences that we need to make in the future. And I think that's what's most important about the social sciences. They give you the knowledge and skills to go on into jobs that will change the future for our generations to come. As we've seen with the global pandemic, with the recent Black Lives Matter protest, with climate demonstrations, there is lots to do and there's lots to learn from the mistakes we've made in the past. In order to do that, the social sciences can really give you the knowledge and skills to make a difference in the future. I'd like to thank you for listening to my presentation, and please go and have a look at our bespoke presentations for each of the subjects. This will give you a real in-depth look at each one in terms of content, assessment and extracurricular opportunities. I would also just like to take a very brief moment to let you know that today is Children in Need, and at Harding Hewish we are dressing as TV characters, film characters and game characters. So I will tell you, I will not be looking like this in a class should you come in September, because obviously I'm Phoebe Buffay from Friends. Goodbye.